Go to a mirror, any mirror. Look at your face. Take a good long look. Now I want to tell you something that might bother you a little. That face you just looked at, nobody else has ever seen it. Not your mother, not your best friend, not your husband or wife of 40 years. Not once in your entire life has another human being seen the face that you see. Think about that. You have walked around for decades inside a head. You have a pretty strong opinion about what your face looks like. And every single opinion you have about your own face was formed from looking at something other people have never seen. It sounds like a magic trick. It isn't. It's just optics and biology and a few strange things our brains do when nobody is watching. But to get to the strange part, we have to start with something very simple. So let me ask you an innocent question, and I want you to answer it honestly, because most people get this one wrong. When you look in a mirror, what does the mirror actually do? Go on. Say it out loud if you like. Most people will answer something like, the mirror flips me left to right. Your left hand appears where your right hand was. Your left cheek is on the right side of the image. You raise one arm, and the person in the glass raises the other. Left becomes right. Right becomes left. Everybody knows this, and everybody is wrong. The mirror doesn't flip you left to right. The mirror doesn't even know what left and right are. Left and right are things your brain invents. Your brain has a strong sense of a body with a left side and a right side, and when you see a reversed image, you impose that map onto it. But the mirror didn't do that. The mirror did something much simpler and much weirder. The mirror flipped you front to back. Let me show you what that means. Picture yourself holding up a piece of paper with some writing on it. You hold it with the writing facing you, where you can read it. Now you walk toward a mirror and you watch the reflection. The writing appears backwards, and you think, the mirror reversed the writing horizontally. But look at what actually happened. You held the paper up with the writing facing you. The mirror's job is to show every piece of the scene as though light were bouncing from it behind the glass. The side of the paper closest to you, the side with the writing, is now on the far side of the reflection. The blank back of the paper is facing toward you in the image. The mirror didn't flip the writing left to right. It didn't touch left and right at all. It flipped the paper through itself along the line running from you to the mirror. If the universe had a preferred direction in that room, it would be the one pointing from your nose to the glass. That is the axis the mirror inverts. Everything along that axis gets reversed. Your nose, which pokes toward the mirror, now pokes toward you in the reflection. Your spine, which points away from the mirror, now points away in the opposite sense. It is a flip through a plane, not a rotation around an axis. Up is still up. Down is still down. The mirror doesn't change those, and it doesn't change left and right either. The only thing it changes is depth. What was close becomes far. What was far becomes close. So why does it feel like left and right are being swapped? Here is why. When you look at your reflection, the thing looking back at you looks like a person. So your brain automatically assumes this is a person standing in front of you, facing you. And a person facing you has a mental left and right that are reversed from your own. Their right hand is on your left side. That is just what it is like to face another human being. So when your reflection raises what is, for you, the right hand, your brain sees it as the person facing you raising their left hand. You slap the face-to-face map on top of a physical flip that had nothing to do with left and right. The physics does not mention left and right. Your brain does. If you want a proof that's almost a parlor trick, try this. Lie down on your back and put a mirror flat on the ceiling looking up at you. Now the axis from you to the mirror is not horizontal, it is vertical. And guess what? The image of your body in that mirror isn't flipped left to right. It isn't flipped up to down either. It's flipped along the new axis, from your chest to the glass. The reflection's toes still point the same direction yours do. The reflection's head is still at the same end, only depth is swapped. And your brain, confused, doesn't bother calling it a left-right flip anymore because there is no face-to-face meeting happening. The physics is the same. The mental overlay is different. That is all that changed. This is the first surprise, and most people walk around their whole lives without ever noticing it. The mirror does not reverse you horizontally. It reverses you along the line of sight, and you have been taught, through thousands of casual glances, to translate that flip into a horizontal swap, because that is the easiest way for a brain that knows about faces to make sense of the image. Good. So now we know one thing. Whatever the face you see in the mirror is, it is not your real face. It is a through-the-plane flip of your real face. If your face were perfectly symmetric, this wouldn't matter. A perfectly symmetric face looks the same after you flip it. But human faces are not symmetric, not even a little. Take a real hard look. One eyebrow sits higher than the other. One nostril is slightly wider. The tip of the nose is not perfectly centered. One corner of the mouth pulls up more when you smile. One ear is closer to the top of the head than the other. Your jaw is probably stronger on one side than the other, because you prefer chewing on one side when you eat. If you have a scar, a mole, a crooked tooth, a dimple, a freckle, a chipped eye tooth, all of these are on one side. If you part your hair, it parts one way, not the other. The asymmetries pile up, one on top of another. A human face, under honest inspection, is a lopsided, crooked, one-of-a-kind arrangement of lumps and textures. The left half of your face, taken by itself, is a different face from the right half. If a careful person took a photograph of you, cut it down the middle, and made a symmetric face by mirroring the left half onto the right, and another by mirroring the right onto the left, you would end up with two different people. Neither of them would be you. And neither of them would look quite right. So the reflection in the mirror is not just a picture of you. It is a picture of a person whose asymmetries are on the wrong sides. The little mole that actually sits under your right eye appears, in the mirror, under the left eye. The crooked tooth that leans one way in life leans the other way in the glass. The hair parting you think of as your hair parting is actually the hair parting of a stranger who is the twin of someone who doesn't exist. That is the second surprise. You have never, not once, looked at your own face. You have only ever looked at a subtly flipped stranger who lives inside glass and water and polished metal. That stranger is the only face you think you know. All right, so let's say you want to see the real one. You grab a camera. You point it at yourself. Now the camera does not do what the mirror does. The camera records the light that leaves your face and enters the lens, and it stores it on film or on a sensor, and when you look at the picture, you see yourself the way somebody standing where the camera was would have seen you. No flip. No reversal. The camera gives you the view a real human observer would have. This is you as others see you. And here is the part that kicks people. When they see that picture, they almost always hate it. They say, "That doesn't look like me." They say, "I take bad pictures." They say, "The camera adds 10 pounds," or "That's not my good side," or "I can't stand the way I look in photographs." Some people tense up so hard before a picture is taken that they cannot look natural in any of them. Why? Why on earth would a faithful picture of a person look less like that person than a flipped one? This is the answer, and it is a real answer, not a hand wave. Your brain has seen the flipped version, the mirror version, thousands of times, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, if you are the sort of person who checks the mirror a lot. Every toothbrushing, every haircut, every glance before leaving the house, every reflection in a shop window, a polished spoon, the dark screen of a television set, the side of a kettle. Your brain has built up a very strong model of what your face looks like, and that model was built entirely from flipped inputs. When you look at a regular photograph, your brain compares the photo to the stored model. And all the asymmetries are on the wrong side. The eyebrow that sits a little higher is now higher on the opposite side. The mole is in the wrong place. The mouth crooks the wrong direction. Your brain does a calculation, not a conscious calculation, a perceptual one, a thing that happens in a fraction of a second, and it says, this is almost me, but something is off. And the feeling that comes out the other end of that calculation is the feeling of wrongness, not quite you, a little uncanny, a little unflattering. The photograph does not match the inside of your head, and your brain, trusting the inside of its own head more than the photograph, declares that the photograph is wrong. You think the camera is lying. The camera is telling the truth. The mirror is the liar. But the mirror has been lying to you your whole life, and you have grown to trust it, the way a person who grew up eating too much salt comes to trust salty food and finds unseasoned cooking bland. This phenomenon has a name. It is called the mere exposure effect, and it was studied quite a lot by a fellow named Robert Zajonc starting in the late 1960s. He showed that people tend to prefer things they have seen before, even if they don't consciously remember seeing them. The more you've been exposed to something, the more you like it. The effect shows up with pictures, with shapes, with words, with melodies, all kinds of things. And some researchers, Mita and Dermer and Knight, ran a very simple and very cruel experiment in the late 1970s. They took a photograph of each of their volunteers and printed it two ways. One print was the ordinary unflipped photograph. The other print was flipped, like a mirror image. They showed both prints to each volunteer and asked which one they preferred. The volunteers overwhelmingly chose the flipped print, the mirror version. It looked more like them, more natural, more attractive. Then the researchers showed both prints to the volunteers' close friends and family members and asked which looked more like their friend. The friends picked the normal print every time, because the friends have been seeing the real face their whole friendship. They have the right model, you have the flipped model, and the two of you cannot agree on which picture is the better likeness, because neither of you is looking at what you think you are looking at. So the face you believe is your face is not the face your friends have spent years learning. And the face in the photograph, which does look like your friend's face of you, doesn't match your own internal picture. Everyone who loves you loves a face you have never seen. You love a face they have never met. That is 3 surprises. We are not done. We are not even close to done. I said the camera tells the truth. That was not quite correct. The camera tells a truth. Many, many truths. Different truths. And which truth it tells depends on a thing you have probably never thought about, which is the focal length of the lens. Look at what this means. Imagine you have 2 cameras. They both have sensors. They both have lenses. But one of them has a short lens, what photographers call a wide angle, and the other has a long lens, what they call a telephoto. You use each of them to take a photograph of the same person's face. You stand at different distances to fit their face in the frame the same amount. With the short lens, you have to stand very close. With the long lens, you stand far away. The photographs you get are not the same person. They are drastically different people. With the short lens, close up, the nose looks big. The ears look small. The forehead and chin look a little pulled back. The face feels like it has been pushed forward in the middle and dragged backward at the edges. It looks a little like a funhouse mirror. With the long lens standing far away, the nose looks normal-sized. The ears look correct. The face feels flatter, like a coin, with everything at roughly the same apparent depth. Why? Because of plane geometry. When the lens is close to the face, the nose is, in relative terms, much closer to the lens than the ears are. Suppose the nose is about 6 inches from the lens, and the ears are about 9 inches. That is a difference of 1.5 to 1. Things that are closer look bigger. The nose takes up more of the frame than it should, because it is so much closer than the ears. Now move the lens far away. Say you stand 12 feet from the person and use a long lens to zoom in. Now the nose is 12 feet away and the ears are 12 feet and a few inches away. The difference in distance is trivial compared to the total distance. The nose and the ears come out at nearly the same relative size. The face looks flat, balanced, and to most observers, more natural. Here is where this gets personal. Most self-portraits, the kind people take by holding a small camera at arm's length in front of themselves, are taken with a short focal length lens from about 1.5 feet away. The nose is the closest thing to the lens. The ears are much farther. Your nose in such a portrait looks bigger than it really is. Your ears look smaller. Your face appears wider in the middle and narrower at the edges. It is a funhouse distortion. Professional portrait photographers, the people who take wedding pictures and studio portraits and magazine covers, know about this. That is why they use long lenses and stand across the room. They want the face to look like a face instead of a cartoon. They want the nose to be the nose, not a nose amplified by ignorant geometry. So the same face, in the same light, in the same second, looks like two different people, depending on how far the camera is. Now ask yourself a simple question. What distance does a real human being stand at when they look at your face in the ordinary course of things? In conversation, maybe 3 to 6 feet. In a crowded room, 5 to 10 feet. Across a table at dinner, about 3 feet. Rarely closer than 2 feet, unless you are about to kiss them or whisper something, and even then only briefly. So the face your friends actually see, the face that enters their eyes hundreds of times a year, is more like a long-lens portrait than a close-up self-portrait. Every time you take a picture of yourself with a camera held at arm's length, you are producing a distorted version of your face that no human who has ever spoken to you has actually seen. It is a valid optical projection. It is also a projection that real biological observers essentially never make on you. The camera tells a truth, but it is the truth of a geometry your friends do not use. That is the fourth surprise. Not all photographs of your face are the same face. The same lens produces different faces at different distances. The nose you see in the bathroom mirror held 18 inches from your face is a different nose from the one in your passport photograph, which is a different nose from the one in a close-up snapshot. They are all geometrically valid. Only 1 or 2 of them correspond to what another human being, looking at you from conversation distance, actually takes into their eyes. Layer by layer, we are uncovering more trouble. But we are still talking about photographs, as if the problem is the camera. Let us set the camera aside for a while and think about what it means for an eye, a real, wet, biological eye, to look at a face. An eye is a lens and a sensor. The lens focuses light. The sensor, which we call the retina, absorbs that light and sends signals to the brain. In that sense, an eye is a camera. But it is a camera with an astonishing number of strange features that no photographer would ever design. For one thing, the retina is not a flat grid of identical pixels. It is a curved sheet with a tiny central spot, called the fovea, where the resolution is very high, and everywhere else the resolution is much lower. You only see sharp detail in a small patch at the center of your gaze. Everywhere else is blurry, color poor, and low resolution. The rest of your visual field is built from scraps. The trick is that your eye is always moving. It flicks from one place to another several times a second, in little darting motions called saccades. Between the saccades there are quick drifts and microtremors, all of them happening below your awareness. Your brain takes all these scraps of high-resolution data from 100 different directions and stitches them into what feels, experientially, like a full, rich, crisp picture of the world in front of you. It isn't. The picture you experience is a construction. Your brain has filled in most of it from memory, from expectation, from rapid relooking. When someone looks at your face, the same process is happening in their head. They are not seeing your face the way a camera sees it. They are flicking between your eyes, your mouth, the bridge of your nose, the corners where things move, assembling an impression from a dozen tiny glimpses, most of them brief. The impression of your face that lives in their mind is not a snapshot. It is closer to a mosaic built from flashes of attention over time. This matters because a photograph is frozen. A human observer is not. When your friend looks at you for 3 seconds, She is not staring at one static image for 3 seconds. She is taking in dozens of slightly different images, caught at different moments, with your face moving slightly, your eyelids blinking, your mouth adjusting, your expression shifting. Her brain averages and combines and lets the most important pieces dominate. Her memory of your face is an average, weighted toward certain moments more than others. A single frozen photograph catches one of those moments. It is almost never the weighted one. It is almost always a random frame, maybe between blinks, maybe in the millisecond between two expressions, maybe in the tiny window where your mouth is mid-word and your jaw is mid-drop. Your face passes through many configurations in a day. Most of those configurations are not ones your friends' brains have imprinted on, but a photograph is just as likely to catch any of them as any other. That is why so many photographs of people look wrong. The photograph caught the face in a fraction of a second that nobody's visual memory has ever dwelt on. The face is real. The moment is real. But the moment is not the one that shows up in anybody's head when they think of you. Fifth surprise. The face other people see is not a single image. It is an average, a smear, a mental smudge built from thousands of small glances. A photograph is a crisp random frame. The two almost never match, because a random frame almost never coincides with the weighted average of many glances. There is something even stranger lurking inside this point, and I want to pull it out explicitly, because I think it is the most private oddity of the whole business. When you look at yourself in a mirror, you are posing. You don't think you are. You think you are just checking your teeth, combing your hair, or glancing to make sure your collar is straight. But the instant you meet your own gaze in the glass, a whole set of tiny muscles in your face adjusts. You soften your expression a little. You lift your eyebrows, ever so slightly. You pull your chin back or forward. You arrange yourself. You become, for the duration of that glance, a subject being observed by a watchful audience of one. And the audience is you. Your friends never see that face. They have never, in their whole time knowing you, seen you at the exact instant you caught yourself in a mirror. They see you mid-laugh, mid-sneeze, mid-argument, mid-bite of a sandwich, mid-yawn, mid-sob. They see all the messy, real configurations. The mirror only ever shows you the composed, aware, posed version, the version that exists nowhere else in the universe except in reflections. So not only do you have a flipped model and a lens-distorted model, you have a posed model, a curated model, a face that has been gently arranged for inspection every time you inspected it. It is as if a painter painted 1,000 portraits of you, but each portrait was painted while you were holding still and trying to look your best. None of the portraits includes the face you wear in real life, because in real life you are never holding still and trying to look your best. You are eating cereal and watching the kettle boil. That is the sixth surprise. Let me add another layer, because we are still not at the bottom. Let me talk about light. A face is not a fixed object in any strict optical sense. It is a surface onto which light falls from somewhere, and the light that bounces off that surface is what the eye or camera records. Change the light, and you change the face. Shadows under the eyes, a highlight on the cheekbone, a darkened hollow at the throat, a flare of brightness on the forehead, the sharpness of the shadow beside the nose, the depth of the shadow under the bottom lip. All of these are properties of the light, not of the face underneath. A face under a noon sun in an open field looks different from the same face sitting under a warm lamp. Different from the same face under a single cold bulb hanging from a kitchen ceiling. Different again under the flicker of a fire. When a photograph is taken with a bright flash pointed straight at the face, the light source is essentially a point, close to the camera, aimed flat at the subject. This kind of lighting is known in the trade as on-axis flat lighting, and it is famously unkind. It erases the shadows that give the face its shape. It flattens the nose. It wipes out the cheekbones. It makes skin look waxy and pale. It catches every pore and blemish in merciless detail. It is about the worst possible lighting for showing a face the way humans actually experience faces. Why do humans almost never experience faces in this kind of lighting? Because in nature the light comes from above. The sun is up there. Indoor lamps are up there. The sky is up there. A face under normal light has a consistent pattern of small shadows. A shadow under the brow, a shadow beneath the nose, a shadow under the chin. These shadows are so reliable that your brain has learned to use them as part of its face recognition machinery. You expect them. A face without them looks wrong. A face with them reversed, as in a flashlight held under the chin, looks so wrong that storytellers use underlighting for centuries to signal that a character is menacing or ghoulish. So any time you look at yourself in unusual lighting, a public restroom, a dressing room, a parking garage, a harsh overhead bulb in a stairwell, you are seeing a face that doesn't match the face anybody has in their head for you, including yourself. And any time a flash goes off in front of you at a party, the picture that comes out afterwards is lit in a way that ruthlessly strips off the depth cues your face usually wears. You look at it and think, that's not me. You are right. It isn't the you anybody knows. It is a valid physical record of the light that bounced off your skin. It is not a record of the face anybody loves. That is the seventh surprise. Now let me add one more before we begin to tie this up, because I want to talk about motion. Your face moves. It moves constantly. Even when you think your face is still, the muscles around your eyes and your mouth are making tiny adjustments every few seconds. A resting face is almost never truly resting. And when a face moves, it tells you things about the person behind it. Flickers of expression, sometimes called micro-expressions, lasting only a fraction of a second. A quick flash of doubt. A twitch of amusement. A brief tightening around the eyes when something bothered the person, suppressed almost immediately, but you caught it, even if you don't know you caught it. Your friends know your face in motion. They know the shape of your smile as it builds. They know the speed at which your face crinkles when you are about to laugh. They know how your eyes react a half second before the rest of your face when someone tells a joke. They know what your face does when you are listening, what it does when you are tired, what it does when you are arguing, what it does when you are bored. These patterns, these journeys through time, are as much a part of what your friends call your face as any single frozen instant. A photograph captures none of it, not one bit. A photograph is a single instant, pulled out of the stream and mounted on a pin like a butterfly. It cannot show motion. It cannot show the climb of a smile. It cannot show the unwinding of a laugh. It cannot show the pacing of your blinks, which is as characteristic to your loved ones as the color of your eyes. Every photograph of your face, even a perfect one with good lighting, a proper lens, and no mirror reversal, is missing one of the central ingredients of what other people mean when they say you. That is the eighth surprise. The face your friends see is not really a face. It is a face in motion. It is a thing with a time dimension, not just a spatial one. Freezing it into a still image is not the same as showing it. It is more like showing you one frame from a film and asking you to decide what the film is. Let me put all of this together, because once you see how it layers up, the conclusion is stranger than any individual layer suggests. When you look in the mirror, you see your face reversed along the side axis, in real time, in motion, with whatever lighting is in your bathroom, at whatever distance you usually stand, with your expression gently composed, because you know you are watching yourself. Your brain has seen this thousands of times and has built a rich, confident model of it. You are the world's expert on that image. When your friend looks at you, she sees your face unreversed, at a different distance, in whatever light is around, in motion, with you doing things you only do in front of her, speaking to her, smiling at her, listening to her, arguing with her, laughing at her joke. Her brain has seen that face many times, in many lightings, in many moods, and has built a rich, confident model of it too. She is the world's expert on that image. Now stand the two of you side by side. Your face, as a slab of bone and skin, has not moved. It is the same arrangement of bones, skin, muscle, and fat in both cases. But the model in your head and the model in her head were built from inputs that do not overlap. Her model cannot be reconstructed by taking your model and flipping it. The flip is only one piece. Add the different lighting history, the different distances, the different angles, the different captured moments of motion, the posed versus unposed difference, and the two of you are each experts on different people who happen to share a name. A photograph is a weapon thrown into the middle of this disagreement. The photograph doesn't match either of your models. It is unreversed, so it fails yours. It is frozen, so it fails hers. It is lit however the photographer lit it, which is almost never the lighting either of you has any history with. It is a single random moment, which is almost never a moment either of you has imprinted on. When you look at that photograph, you say, "That doesn't look like me." When your friend looks at that photograph, she says, "That looks a little off." You both think the photograph is wrong. But the photograph is a perfectly valid projection of the same physical face. It is simply a projection that neither of you has trained your brain on. Are we done? We are not done, because I want to drag one more player into this room, and that player is you, watching video of yourself. Video is supposed to fix all this. Video is motion. Video is time. Video catches the face doing the things a face does. Surely video shows you your real face, at last. It doesn't. It still has most of the problems. The lens still distorts. The lighting is whatever it happens to be. The color rendering is limited. The resolution is not the resolution of your eye. And critically, you are watching yourself from outside. The video sees you the way other people see you, unflipped. So when you watch video of yourself, you are watching a near stranger, because the model in your head is the mirror model, not the video model. You look at yourself talking on a recording and think, do I really hold my head at that angle? Do I really purse my mouth that way? The answer is yes. You always have. It is just that you have never, until that recording, watched yourself do it from outside. And then there is the voice. Your own voice on a recording never sounds like the voice inside your head. This has nothing to do with mirrors. It is another entire category of illusion. When you speak, the sound of your voice travels to your ears two ways. Part of it goes out of your mouth, through the air around you, and back in through your ear canals. That is the part other people hear. The other part does not travel through the air at all. It travels through the bones of your skull, directly from your vocal cords and throat to the cochlea in your inner ear, without ever leaving your head. That second pathway adds a lot of low frequency, a kind of warm rumble, to your perception of your own voice. It is like the difference between hearing a drum in the next room and hearing it with your cheek pressed to its side. When you hear a recording of yourself, the bone-conducted part is gone. Only the air-conducted part remains. Your recorded voice sounds thinner and higher than the voice you hear from inside your head. Almost nobody likes the sound of their recorded voice. For the same reason almost nobody likes a candid photograph. The external version doesn't match the internal one, and the brain, trusting the internal version more, rebels. When you speak, other people hear the air version. They have never heard what you hear. And you have never heard what they hear. You have been having conversations with other humans your whole life, trading voices that neither party has ever experienced from the inside. So to lay out the mess plainly, you are walking around in a body whose face you have never looked at directly, whose voice you have never heard the way others hear it, whose expressions in motion you have never seen except reversed and composed, and whose photographs are random frames, shot with arbitrary lenses, under arbitrary lights, at arbitrary instants. The only evidence you have about what you really look and sound like to other people is their testimony. And their testimony is itself drawn from their own filtered, averaged, lit one way, seen from one distance private model. There is no such thing as what your face looks like. There are projections. There are views. There are stored averages. Each is valid. None is the real face. The real face, in the sense of a single canonical image that matches everybody's experience of you, does not exist. It was never there. Let me tell you something I find quite lovely about this, because I have been talking as though we have a problem. We don't have a problem. We have a much richer situation than the word face suggests. Your face, as a thing in the world, is a surface, a shape, a particular arrangement of features with asymmetries and colors and small inherited traits from your parents. That part is real. That part is unambiguous. If you had a laser scanner that could measure geometry down to a fraction of a millimeter, you could capture the exact shape. That shape exists, quietly, every moment of your life, under every light and in every mood. It is sitting on the front of your skull right now, as you listen to me, not caring what anybody thinks of it. But your face, as it appears in anybody's mind, is not that shape. It is a projection onto a retina, passed through a lens, corrected by a brain, averaged over many encounters, colored by feelings, merged with memories of what you sounded like and how you smiled at them on particular occasions. Your face, in that sense, does not live in your body. It lives in the minds of the people who have looked at you. You have one of those minds, too. The face that lives in your mind is the face you have seen in mirrors and self-portraits. It is one view. It is not the view other people have. It is not better. It is not worse. It is just different. And the small jolt of discomfort you feel when you see a photograph of yourself is not because the photograph is lying to you. It is because you are meeting, for a moment, a version of yourself that belongs to somebody else's world rather than your own. The next time someone you love looks at you, try to remember that they are seeing a face you will never see. They have assembled, over years, a face that is theirs in a real sense. A face built from 1,000 conversations, 1,000 small expressions, 1,000 moments of light falling this way or that, 1,000 recoveries of your face out of a crowd. That face is not a copy of the one in your head. It is a different face, belonging to their private world. And the face they love, the one their eyes hunt for in a full room, is not the face in your bathroom mirror. It is its strange, unflipped, time-smeared, warmly lit cousin. You, looking back at them, have built the same kind of face of them, inside your own head. A face they have never seen. A face that exists nowhere in the universe except in the space behind your eyes. Everybody, in every room in the world, is carrying around a private gallery of faces that nobody else will ever see. The people in the gallery are real. The portraits are not photographs. The portraits are made of light and time and attention and preference and love and argument and 1,000 glances across 1,000 tables. That is the deepest thing I want you to take from all of this. The face, which seems like such a simple public thing, turns out to be one of the most private and constructed things we have. Two people can look at each other across a dinner table, and neither of them is seeing what the other sees. And yet, somehow, they still recognize each other. They still know each other. They still walk through a world where faces have meaning, not because the face is a fixed object out there, but because the brain is unreasonably good at building faces out of scraps and smudges and guesses, and treating those inventions as real. We live, mostly, inside each other's inventions. So, go back to the mirror. Study the face. Study the asymmetries, now that you know they are there. Find the mole. Find the crooked tooth. Find the eyebrow that sits a little higher. Find the ear that is not quite level with its partner. Find the side of your mouth that pulls up first when you smile. Now, in your mind, take all of them and flip them across the center line. Put the mole on the other side. Part the hair the other way. Turn the tilt of your smile around. Imagine the face you have never seen, the face your mother saw when you were born, the face your friends greet in line at the coffee shop, the face in the wedding photographs of a wedding you haven't had yet. That face is the one everybody else knows. That is the face that walks through the world under your name. It carries your voice and your history and the small private weather of whatever mood you happen to be in. It meets strangers and makes them into friends. It receives news, good and bad. It is loved and argued with and remembered. and you, its owner, have never once in your whole life met it face to face. I would like to hear from you on this. Of all the asymmetries you carry around on your own face, which one surprised you most when you thought about which side it is really on? Which piece of the real you have you been living without?